My name is Usatei, and I will be guiding you through this in-depth guide for Magmog the Gobblerog. In this guide, we're going to go over every little aspect of the fight, from positioning who, where and why, all the way up to the viability of using different strategies composed of different classes. During the end of this video, there's going to be additional notes, because unfortunately in the video you're going to be watching, the run was essentially clean. There was a lot of things that could have happened that didn't, so we're going to go over all of the possible things that could happen during the fight and how to deal with them accordingly. For this run, we'll be using a team composition of a Fire-Air IOP, a Fire-Earth Rogue, a Fire-Water Panda, a Air-Earth Osa, a Water-Earth Sadida, and a Pure Water Any. Before you'll be fighting Magmog, you have to kill a Gobblerog, which are one of the things that Magmog can summon using her Meteor attack. This thing has 2222 HP and isn't worth the attention of your full team. 1 or 2 damage dealers along with an Any should be more than enough to kill it. The Any is only really there to keep the health levels high during the fight. Once that fight is complete, you will have roughly 2 to 3 seconds to use any candies from the people participating in the fight before Magmog shows up herself and aggroes one of your team members. During this time, positioning is extremely important because this positioning is going to determine how the rest of your team move and where they can position themselves. Our team composition is set up so that we manipulate Magmog into coming to the left hand side. I'm going to pause the video here and talk you through the thought process of why we're positioned in the way we are positioned, because positioning is extremely important. With this positioning, the person with the lowest fire resistance is our Sadida. Our Sadida is on the far left, in between the Any and the Rogue. This is extremely important because that will lure Magmog into coming up towards the left hand side to use her flame attack on the Any, the Sadi and the Rogue, because the Sadi has the lowest fire resistance and she'll be able to hit 3 targets with that. So really that's irresistible to her. With her Meteor, it is slightly random where she will do it. She will sometimes do it on the far left or the far right. She usually goes for the lowest earth resist because her Meteor is earth based, but unfortunately sometimes she just doesn't go for that. So it can be slightly random, but it's quite predictable. The Rogue is going to move forward and place down a Boombot. She's then going to use Flaming Claw to gain 2 squares of movement by pulling herself to the Boombot. With this ensures that she can get as far up the map as possible, because her position needs to be behind Magmog a few squares. The Boombot needs to be placed 1 square out from Magmog to avoid Magmog's passive. Our Sadi is currently under the state of Concussion. This state is caused by the Meteor that Magmog drops and increases the cost of your AP spells up. So you want to remove this as soon as possible, and if multiple people have it, you need to ensure that the people who require the AP the most is removed of this state. An Any Razor is more than enough to remove this state. The Osa is going to use Symbiosis and simply get into position. This turn all he needs to do is get into position. The reason the IOP is on the farthest most point is because the IOP is able to use Jump 3 times per turn. Using Jump 3 times, she will be able to get into position around the back of Magmog. The Sadi has a very important role right now. The Sadi needs to use 5 water spells on Magmog to put her into the cooling state. Currently she is flaming. In this state, she will do massive damage to any units who start their turn adjacent to Magmog. This also explains why Boombot was summoned 1 square out. During this turn, he's going to be unable to get into position. Luckily, Boombot is in his position for this turn, so he will be able to lock Magmog. The damage our Sadi just took is another side effect of her being in the flaming state. While in the flaming state, she has a chance to reflect a ton of damage to an attacker, This also explains why we do not attack her until she is cooled. The Eni and the panda are about to become BFFs. For this entire fight, the panda will be holding the Eni to keep her safe and just basically keep her alive. Magmog is going to see the panda and the Eni as two targets, meaning the Magmog is more likely to use her meteor attack on the panda. Now that Magmog is in cooling, it's safe to attack her. Before that though, the rogue needs to use Magnetic Claw on her Boombot to pull it back one square. This will free up the slot for the Sadie to take over. The rogue will then just basically do DPS and then move far to the left. The reason she moves to the left is because she took quite some damage last turn, so this will enable her to be healed. Now all there is to do is to DPS Magmog down for this turn. While it does that, I'm going to speak over a few mechanics I missed earlier. During this fight, you will have a debuff on you that does fire damage to you at the start of your turn. This is a set amount of damage that increases per turn, so this makes it so killing Magmog quickly is more efficient because it reduces the amount of damage you take from that passive. The reason we use a Sadie instead of another DPS class is because our Sadie is able to use Drain. With this, he is able to heal our eye up without any problems. During the last turn, the panda's barrel was destroyed by Magmog. For some reason, Magmog decided to prioritize the barrel over other players. I'm not entirely sure why that is, and I don't see it that often, but I do know her meteor does one-hit kill the barrel, if hit directly. So during this turn, the panda is going to summon another barrel and throw it behind her, out of line of sight so it can't be hit with meteor, and also will allow her to redirect attacks from Magmog, hopefully. During this turn, something very important must be done. Magmog's cooling is currently at less than 1 turn. This means that next turn she will regain all of her passives. To prevent this, one person must use a fire attack on Magmog. In our team, we've allocated our panda to use the fire attack, because she doesn't sacrifice any DPS for doing so. It is absolutely crucial that you continue cooling by using a fire attack on this turn, otherwise it could cost you the entire run. So ensure you've made a note and the person knows before the fight who is cooling and who is in charge of using that fire attack. During this turn, the rogue is going to get into position, so next turn she can use Fusillade. This is important because soon it's going to be Cataclysm. Once Magmog gets below 3000 HP, she will use an attack called Cataclysm. This is what we refer to as her ultimate attack. She is going to summon a bunch of meteors who are going to randomly hit players on the map. This includes summons as well, so you can easily fill out conies and drellers for additional targets. The meteors will do between 200 to 300 damage per hit and could hit any single character any number of times. I'm unsure if there's a set amount of meteors that come down from Cataclysm or if it's random, but they seem to be around the same amount. And there you have it, that's one dead Magmog. We're now going to go over the additional notes of things that could have happened but didn't, because that run was a lot smooth in comparison to how it can normally go. The first thing I want to talk about that didn't happen in the video were Gobberog spawns. Gobberogs can spawn from meteors used by Magmog. It's a relatively decent chance and she can spawn up to any number she wants. Gobberogs are exactly the same as the fight that you had previously. They are not worth focusing. The worst they can do to you is cause concuss by charging at you and pushing you out of position. They also spawn their own little meteors which do a little bit of damage. If some Gobberogs begin to spawn, the best thing to do is to maintain your position at all costs. You need to focus on Magmog and maintain the position so Magmog cannot move. If Magmog is able to move, she's going to start biting people and it's not going to be pretty. Initiative is extremely important because you're going to need to ensure that the right members are going first. In Magmog, the only thing that's important is having your any as first as possible. Of course, with a rogue who's stat in initiative, it's going to be hard to beat that, but it's a risk you can take. The reason your any needs to be as first as possible is because your any needs to, without fail, remove concussion before whoever's got concussion has their turn. She also needs to heal in case someone's at such a low HP that the passive of overheating will kill them. So getting that initiative on the any is super important. To get extra initiative, you can easily use shields, pets, or food to increase your initiative if you need to. In worst case scenarios, you can always ask your teammates to change their equipment somewhat, so they may have slightly less damage, but if their initiative goes below yours to ensure that you can remove concuss on them, it will be better overall. This tier list is entirely based on my opinion and my opinion alone. I made this tier list myself. I've been in multiple Magmog groups and these classes I feel are extremely vital to the run. With an any is basically obvious. It removes concussion, it heals, it's super useful. I don't think there's really any question about that. With IOPS give out a lot of damage, so having an earth or air IOP are extremely useful. Not to mention using their jump, which is 3 per turn, they're able to get into position easily. I'd rate pandas as very much god tier because of the amount of movement they can use with their barrel hop and the redirection of damage. It's extremely useful. Pandas are not the only tanks that can do that, but we'll get onto that in a moment. Enus are crazy useful in Magmog, simply because they have all the movement in the world of Drellzerka. Not to mention, they also can simply use a Dreller in one of these spots to lock Magmog instead of themselves if they want to stay at long range. They're extremely useful for cooling, and then they can switch to Drellzerka for tons of damage, and they just... I'm speaking mainly about water earth. Fire Enus probably won't be that useful. They also have a really cheap fire spell they can use for cooling, so Enus basically are overall amazing for Magmog. In my oddly named Shiny Biscuit tier, which are basically just as good to take, you would have the IOSYS, the Rogues, the Saddies, and a Sack. The reasons I personally think these are really strong is because an IOSYS with Symbiosis get a ton of MP, and they have the little gust to move them into positions, so they're quite useful. Rogues have a lot of mobility, and Brobot is literally the best. They're also really useful with their Fusillade for bursting down past Cataclysm. Sedidas are super useful, not only because they can heal and do damage and cool, but they can also turn themselves into a tree. While in this tree they're stabilized, so if there's a bunch of Gobberogs running around, they can't push the Saddie out of position because he's a tree. Sacks are an interesting one. I personally think sacks are really good in Magmog if you are very organized as a team. With the sack I run in a separate team to the one I've shown. I feel those runs go a lot smoother simply because it's like, right, lowest earth resist, that's the any, so I'm just going to sacrifice the any, just walk into position and just headbutt Magmog. And with a decent sack who's built in a full tank, you basically don't feel what Magmog does. Like, you hardly feel the damage that's being done to you. And not to mention that you can just keep sacrificing who you want, and if you get really bored and your fight's going really slowly, sacrifice everyone. During Cataclysm you'll have a laugh. Like, I think sackers are really good. There's been a lot less mess-ups with a sack instead of a panda, but that's just my personal opinion. Okay, so if you were going to take absolutely everything you've learned from this video and compress it down into some basic notes so you can remember as a checklist, they would probably be like this. Position yourself to predict Mog's movement. So get someone with weak fire resist, sacrifice them on either the left or the right, and then position your team around what classes can achieve what amount of distance in the first turn. Surround her. Absolutely surround her. Don't let her move. If she bites you, she's going to bite you hard. Like, it's not the end of the world, but it's a pain in the butt, and you really don't want that happening. Don't forget to cool her. With cooling, it takes 5 water skills to cool her originally, and then when she's got less than 1 turn on cooling, you need to hit her with a fire attack. Brace yourself for Kata. Kata's gonna hurt. Kata's gonna hit you 1,000 times on the wrong person, and it's gonna insta-gib your panda one day. You're not gonna prepare for it. You can't prepare for Kata. Just brace. Just brace. Let it happen. Ignore the Gobblrogs. If I'm honest, the Gobblrogs are just yucking it up. They're just annoying. Like, the best thing to do is ignore them, and that's basically it. You can't do anything else about them. Just keep smacking Mog in the face. Then mysterious things happen when you concoct all these together, and then you get lovely, lovely profit. Don't you want profit? Everybody wants profit. My name has been Usatei from the Remington server. I want to take a moment to say special thanks to Aristal for recording the video, because I couldn't do it because I'm lazy. Prometheus for originally teaching me Magmog and teaching me all the little details about Magmog so I could eventually get my own team going. And Senev for being the best hairy any on all of Remington. And yeah, that's it. Go punch Magmog in the face. Go nuts. Get drops. Okay, see ya.